Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Jane's Fighters Anthology. Last week, we took a Nighthawk out on a late night spin to destroy enemy fuel stores in and around Cairo. Actually, I think it was just outside Cairo, and we also followed up with an F-22 sortie in the morning where we attacked enemy aircraft in the air and on the ground, destroying a significant chunk, I would hope, of what remains of the Islamic Egyptian Air Force. So now let's see what else is left to do as the siege of Cairo progresses. Snapshots. Luxor Airbase. Date October 6th. Local time 1400 hours. Weather clear. Situation: UN forces have secured downtown Cairo, though guerrilla fighting continues in some outside districts. Surviving rebel troops are seeking refuge in the rural countryside. Rebel Air Force is deployed to a partially destroyed airbase at Luxor. Excuse me. Mission objective: fly combat patrol along the designated waypoints, engaging any enemy aircraft encountered. Threat suppression data: ground opposition unknown, air opposition unknown. So this sounds like another F-22 air sweep around Luxor, which we actually hit the other day. So we'll just stock up on AMRAAMs, go with an 80% fuel load as we do, and let's fly. Alright, let's roll. And up we go.
Airborne.
Whee! I love doing that. Okay, let's lay off the afterburner for now. Combat Air Patrol. Let's super cruise in there, climb to 15,000 feet.
Contact your 12 o'clock high, 7/4 miles. Please advise.
Alright, we got F5s, Gazelles. I'm not too worried about the Gazelles. Let's face it, I'm not too worried about the F5s either. So let's slow down a bit. Oh yeah, I did want IR Seeker on. Normally this toggles your arm seeker, at least it did in USNF 97. Alright, so break and engage.
Contact multiple bandits, your 12 o'clock slow, 7 miles.
Ranging the radar. We only have one wingman this time. Let's throw on our jammers to confuse their fire control systems. Woo! And that's a miss. And it looks like they're staying in formation. So that's some nice discipline there on their part. But it's all for naught. Alright, he nicked us, but we took him completely out. There you are. Oh, nope, that's Wingman. He's behind me now. Let's range into 5 nautical miles. Get a little better resolution in tracking. Looks like our Wingman's just going in for the gun kills now. There you are.
We've got him now.
Throttle up. There's our wingman. Oh no, the F5's the one going for the gun kills. Got him.
He's taking damage. Flash one.
Whee!
Disengage.
Alright. So probably a little reckless there, but I'm not going to waste an AMRAAM on an F5 at this stage in the war. So let us resume our patrol route. There we go. Shut off the jammers there, so only our radar is emitting. And really, they shouldn't even. I don't want to say they shouldn't be able to detect our radar emissions, but they should have difficulty detecting our radar emissions because we should have actively scanned radar, which are supposed to have a low probability of intercept. Yeah, this doesn't end well for you. might not end up well for us. Oh. Oh.
5 o'clock high.
Wingman, move to engage. Ow. I'm sorry, how did you get a radar guided weapon that we could lock at this range? And why are your Raphaels? Why? Is France supplying you with planes? Okay. What's our damage at? 60%, so we aren't fixing this in one go. But I didn't catch the veterancy on them. I assume they were somewhat good. Shit, I need to get my bearings here. But I would think at this stage of the game they'd just make everyone good. There we go. Target's on the ground. But yeah, I didn't expect them to have a second Raphael taking off so quickly. Otherwise, I would have immediately pursued the first one. But not only that, but they just went into combat immediately after takeoff, which, you know, I do, granted. But, you know, I don't hold the AI to the same standards I hold myself to. Oh, that jammer would have helped too. But yeah, the fact they were able to get a lock on with a radar guided weaponette, and then we're still able to, and that was able to track us. Because if you try to use an AMRAM within like 3 miles in this game, you know, it doesn't work out too well, generally speaking. Now in real life, I don't know if that's the case. I would imagine there's a certain close-in range where it would actually perform well, and then a further close-in range where, you know, maybe it can't turn sharp enough or something. But it didn't seem to be the case here. All right, so we have some Mirage 3s and F4s. Probably, I don't know. Probably use our AMRAMs against the Mirage 3s, I'm thinking, because the F4 should have Sparrows.
Proceed to waypoint Charlie, bearing
which are a lesser threat to us.
Contact your 12 o'clock, 3 miles.
Alright, I'm going to attack bandits. Your discretion. But yeah, I mean, we were also we didn't have our jammers on, but we were also full stealth too. I mean, our weapons doors were closed and such. Unless our damage is impacting our stealth, which actually could very well be the case. I mean, in real life, I would certainly expect that. Really? Go away. Yeah, that's right. You can't get a lock. So let's zoom in the range here. Now these guys are coming off of, Mirages are coming from Cairo, which I guess is on the western flank of Cairo, and we've only secured downtown. Alright. So actually what I want to do is, let's use our speed advantage to gain some altitude. Okay, so that doesn't make a difference. Yep. All those missiles, gone. All those missiles, gone. Those Sparrows just do not do well against countermeasures. Which you can actually see that in, if anyone ever plays Command Modern Air and Naval Operations, you can another well-disciplined group staying in formation. Nice one. We're going to let them pass by us though, because our turn rate's better. And then now they broke it up. So, but if you ever play Command Modern Air Naval Operations, you can try to pit, say, like, an F4, an older F4 with older weapon systems, because, it's still in service and still upgraded, specifically, the Turks, specifically, I think. Definitely keep theirs upgraded with the F4 2000 project, I think. But, you can,
I'm taking heat.
okay, come on. I didn't want to have to use this, but you made me. Got him. We're gonna save our wingman. But, you can hit, like, a new missile, or an old missile against a new jamming system, and just watch as, it gets, like, a 50 or 90% chance to jam the target. It's ridiculous. Alright. I mean, we'll let our wingman have fun with the Gazelle, and hopefully he can just hit him with a missile and be done. Of course, now we're down to 2 Sidewinders.
Get this guy off me. Disengage.
Okay, I guess he's down to just bug out. You're no good to me. Surprise!
Taking a shot.
1, 2. But yeah, especially one of the best instances, I think, is there's a mission that's kind of a reenactment of the battle between the Israeli Navy and the Syrian Navy. Now, the Syrians had long-range they had Komar and Osa-class attack boats with longer-range Styx missiles. And, oh, fuck! Oh. Okay, now it's our turn to bug out. Damn it. He didn't have to waste that last hit. But in any case, but they had longer range Styx cruise missiles, but they were, a first generation anti-ship missile. They had no, and the concept of electronic warfare was very new. I think this was back in the early 70s, I think. Yom Kippur War, maybe? But anyways, they meet up with some Israeli attack boats, which are similar, except they have, the main difference is the Israeli boats had sophisticated electronic warfare systems and countermeasures, such as chaff and whatnot, flares, but their anti-ship missiles were shorter range, so what happened was, they detected each other, they both moved to engage. The Syrians got off the first shot with their older export Styx missiles, and none of the missiles hit because they were all jammed or decoyed away with an electronic attack system, or with, electronic defense system, or with, chaff and flares. So then the Israelis were able to move in close enough to launch their anti-ship missiles, and all their missiles hit because the Komars or Osas or whatever they were. The difference between the Komar and the Osa is the Komar was like the first gen attack boat, whereas the Osa is a second gen one. The Komar has, I think, 2 Styx missiles. Osa is 4, as well as a small cannon. I think later refits have additional small cannons and radars, whereas the Komar didn't have as much of that stuff. But anyways, so all their missiles hit, so the Syrians just spent the rest of the war in their port. And I think that was partially learned from U.S. experiences with, first, it was a combination of U.S. and Israeli experiences, because you had, the Israelis have the distinction of holding the first loss of a ship to an anti-ship missile. Their destroyer, which was an old hand-me-down from Britain, or the United States, I think, in World War II. They had a destroyer, the Elliot, something like that. Anyways, the Syrian Komars in one of their wars, I think maybe during the War of Attrition, hit it with the same Styx missiles that they ended up using later. So that's why the Israelis moved to like and actually why a lot of countries moved to a fleet of small attack boats rather than the large capital ships that you see, global powers like the U.S., France, and Russia and China kind of deploy. But then, yeah, the U.S. gained a lot of experience with electronic warfare in Vietnam, specifically. I think they started dabbling with it in World War II, when electronic detection systems started to actually come into play to begin with. Because there are electronic warfare conversions of the old TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. Now, there's also AEW conversions too, which were really the first airborne warning aircraft before the Grumman E-1 Tracer ended up becoming the first purpose-built one. Well, sort of. I mean, it was still a conversion of the C-1 Trader, which also was built modified to become the first purpose-built. It was the first purpose-built AEW as the E-1 Tracer, and then the S-2 Tracker, I believe, which was the first purpose-built ASW aircraft, was built on the same frame. Which, I kind of like that commonality, having one airframe capable of doing all that stuff. You also had the, for example, the C-2 Greyhound was modified to become the E-2 Hawkeye, as well as... Oh no, that one didn't have an associated ASW variant, which, fair enough, it's a big plane, and the S-2 Tracker at the time was still doing well enough, and then they had the S-3 Viking replacement, which was retired way too early, but that's another discussion. I don't know where our wingman ended up going to. I hope he didn't die. Maybe this is him even? No. He might have just bugged out to the first airbase. Oh, that should be this one. I can't imagine we would have beat him back. I don't see him on our radar, though. I didn't see him at this base. Did he take off again? Okay. Oh, there he is. Haha, he made it back. Yeah, I'm glad I haven't bugged out, because he took about as much damage as we did. So we'll wait for him to land, because we're nice like that. But yeah, electronic warfare is some interesting stuff and has quite the storied history. It's from the U.S. successes in combating Soviet systems in Vietnam that led to the Israeli adoption of them, which you start seeing in the Yom Kippur War, and definitely by the 80s Syrian-Lebanon conflict, where they completely trashed the Syrian Air Force. They applied the lessons the U.S. learned in Vietnam, combating surface-to-air missiles as well as air-to-air combat, and they still make use of it today. That's why a lot of the aircraft the U.S. sells to them end up being modified to carry Israeli-made electronics, because they just love their own jamming and sensing systems that much. Which, that's fair. I mean, we have our own stuff, but it's definitely a bit of a force multiplier there. Or, well, force debuffer, really, when the enemy can't track you. There we go. Nice full airbase. Let's see if I can do this right. There, get a wide-angle fisheye shot. Oh man, that is a lot of air power right there. Beautiful thing it is. In any case, let's end today's mission. Debrief. Fayed Airbase, date October 6th, mission Snapshots, resolution success. You smashed the Rebel Air Force for good. At this point, the enemy can only muster an odd assortment of fighters for the defense of their ground forces. The end of this bitter civil war is near. So we destroyed the 9 targets. We took 60% damage, our wingman took 78. We had 9 fighter kills, our wingman had 5. We also got in a fuel truck, I think. We had 1 missile fail, which is probably the AMRAAM that I launched, and then, the target got destroyed a second later because I thought I was tracking a different target. Our wingman had a slightly worse hit radius, but what can you do? So let's start repairs on our Raptor. He won't be ready, though, until after the next mission at the earliest, because we did take a fair amount of damage. So, with that, let's hope this war ends soon. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for next time, and we'll see you then.